Good evening and welcome everyone to the regular meeting of the Santa Clarita Valley Water Agency Board of Directors for 12/20 for December 20th, 2022. This is the last board meeting of the year. And welcome everyone. And I would proceed with calling the meeting to order, and I would ask, we have two directors who, this is their last meeting. I know Director Planbeck recited the pledge at the last committee meeting, so I'll ask Director Ford if he would do us the honor and recite the pledge to, or lead us in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our announcements for tonight, and it may be somewhat out of order, but I'd like to let the audience and board know that Director Bronstein is on her way. She's stuck in traffic and she's making the best time she can. Director Colley and Director Kelly are both attending via Zoom. And here are the announcements for tonight's meeting. This meeting is being conducted in person at the Rio Vista Water Treatment Plant boardroom. As a convenience to the public, members of the public may also participate virtually by logging into the agency's Zoom meeting. Any member of the public may listen to the meeting or make comments to the board using the call-in number or Zoom webinar link. In the event there is a disruption of service which prevents the agency from broadcasting the meeting to members of the public using either the call-in option or internet-based service, this meeting will not be postponed or rescheduled, but will continue without remote participation. The remote participation option is being provided as a convenience to the public and is not required. Members of the public are welcome to attend the meeting in person. To participate in public comment from your computer, tablet, or smartphone, when I announce the agenda item you wish to speak on, click the raise hand feature in Zoom, and you will be notified when it is your turn to speak. Please unmute when requested. To participate in public comment via phone, when I announce the agenda item you wish to speak on, dial *9 to raise your hand. When it is your turn to speak, dial *6 to unmute. We do have quite a number of members of the public present, so I'd like to advise everyone that there are public comment cards out in the hallway to help facilitate the public comment process. I do already have a number of cards. The procedure for tonight's meeting are as follows. I will introduce each agenda item. Staff will present. I will ask for public comments. I will then ask for discussion and questions from board members. Please raise your hand. Once concluded, I will ask for a motion in a second. After any further discussion, the board secretary will call for roll call votes. All directors are present in person except for Director Colley and Kelly, and Director Bronstein, whom will join us in progress. Director Colley and Kelly will participate via Zoom. That concludes our announcements. We now can move to public comment. Members of the public may comment as to items within the subject matter jurisdiction of the agency that are not on the agenda item at this time. We ask that members of the public wishing to comment on items that are listed in this agenda do so at the time each item is considered. We do have public comment cards for item number 3. All right. We do have, as I said, we had some public comment cards for item number 3. And I will begin with David Lutness. Please come to the podium and present your public comment under item number 3.
Thank you for this opportunity to thank Lynn Planbeck for her decades of service to this community and to the environment. She has selflessly worked and tirelessly worked to promote the health of our community and our environment. She has held to the fire many illegal practices that government has undertaken in the past, and to my knowledge, she has never taken dark money to spread lies about her opponent. So I certainly want to say that I appreciate you, Lynn Flambeck, and I only wish that there was a smidgen of as much integrity in the rest of the board. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lutness. Now we have Carol Lutness, if she would please come to the podium and make her public comment.
I'm okay, sweetie. All right. My name is Carol Lutness. I am a 25-year resident of Santa Clarita. Ran for water board twice, and haven't been very involved for a while because of illness. I want to speak about Lynn Flambeck, who to me has been such a hero in this community. I have never met anyone with more integrity, honor, and dedication. And as my husband said, I know she has never taken a penny of big corporate special interest money. During this past election, these are the number of hit mailers that I received against primarily Democratic candidates that were running in this district. It is appalling. But the ones that appalled me the most were the hit mailers against Lynn Flambeck, a serial litigator, a career politician, making the housing crisis worse. I could go on and on at the poison sent by the Alliance for Special Environmental Solutions. Gee, I wonder where they get their money. And I pretty well know they got them from developers and all the lawyers and the developer interests that don't want to have a gadfly, a truth seeker, a person of great integrity on the water board. Instead of that, I want to point out, oh shit. I want to point out just a few of the things that Lynn has done this year. The Oak Ordinance. If we didn't have Lynn, we would not have an Oak Ordinance that preserves the historic trees in this valley. Chloride permits, working on chlorate and chloride and all the things. If we didn't have her standing up to people in power to say that, I know I'm running out of time, I could go on and on about what service she has done to this, for this community in all the years that she has been a dedicated citizen. And I am appalled that she will no longer be a voice on this board to speak truth to power and to stand up to corruption. So I'm very, very, very sad that she is not going to be on this board. Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Lutness, and I apologize for mispronouncing your name.
Yeah, honey, could you come get these things?
I don't have any
Okay.
other comment cards for item 3, Madam Secretary. Do we have any members of the public online who wish to comment under item 3?
We do. Just one moment. I'm sorry if I pronounced your name incorrectly. Shitra? Go ahead and hit star 6 and you may begin your public comment. Please hit star 6 and you may begin your public comment. Shitra? President Martin, would you like to pass on this public comment? She's not responding, or he's not responding.
Well, Yes, if she's not responding, we pretty much have to pass on this.
Okay, Mr. Dunn also has a public comment.
By the way, Mr. and Ms. Dunn, your comments are under items 5.1 and 5.2, unless you wanted to comment under item 5, under item 3.
I wrote on the card number 3 also, after I filled out my card. Put it on the top. They didn't,
I don't see it, but you're welcome to make comment under item 3.
okay. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everyone. Thank you. I wanted to talk tonight on our lack of use of our recycled water. And that it's been that way for 30 years now. Orange County, their cities used it. Other cities, Lancaster has purple or lavender hydrants so that the construction workers don't have to use drinking water for construction. And the fire department doesn't use it often. I think that it's borders on criminal the way we dump the recycled water into the river and let it run down to the ocean. And yet I was shocked just recently to see that a contractor is hooked up to a pipe hydrant at Sand Canyon with 2 8-inch pipes. And he's got 16 earth movers. They're going to move this mini mountain and grade, and they're going to use our drinking water out of our hydrants because we have no respect for recycled water whatsoever. And I understand the state mandated 30 years ago, which I think is a good request for you, that if you have it, you must serve it. And we are not doing that. And yet we're receiving notices that we have to only water our lawns or our yards 2 days a week or 3 days a week, and we have to restrict. And that part I don't understand because we bought a house with an acre-foot of water to the house. To take that from us is injuring us, but that's another subject. But the fact that we have to cut back at home, and here it is brazenly being used to move earth and do more construction, I would like to also know if you are aware of how many acre feet are going to be used to move that mountain, to level that mountain, and what can we do to stop that? Why can't they go to the water factory and get recycled water? It's nearby. I think that needs looking into, and we should stop approving building if we don't have the water for the project. Thank you.
No, they do not. Their hands down. President Martin, I'm not sure your speaker's on.
Sorry about that. Let me start over again. Seeing no further public comments under item 3, we've moved to item 4, approval of the agenda. Are there any changes, additions, or modifications to the agenda from the board? Seeing none, the agenda is hereby approved, and we can move to item. Do we have to ask for public comment under item 4?
We should.
All right, very good. All right, item 5, special procedures. Item 5.1 is approve resolutions honoring and commending Santa Clarita Valley Water Agency Directors Ford and Planbeck for their service and dedication. Do we have to take those together at one time, April? Can we do those individually?
You can do them individually.
All right, so we will call item 5.1A the resolution for Director Ford. I would entertain a motion for approval of the resolution recognizing Director Vice President of the Husky.
Director Ford, you served as a senior scientist for the water engineering firm Kenny Jenks, principal water resource planner for Castaic Lake Water Agency, environmental resource planner for Metropolitan Water District, land use and environmental planner for cities of LA and Simi Valley, and as an air quality specialist for South Coast Air Quality Management District. I can honestly say, sharing the board seat with you here for 2 years, that your career is in public service is commendable. Thank you for your service and thank you for your dedication to to the residents of Santa Cruz Valley. Therefore, motion to approve resolution honoring and commending you for your service and dedication.
Director Cooper.
Thank you, President Martin. I too would like to second the motion. And I want to thank you, Jeff, for the work that you've done on this board and the work that you did with both Santa Clarita Valley Water Agency and the Castaic Lake Water Agency. And I knew you slightly when you were at Metropolitan Water District. I saw you there, but we were in different departments. But your work has been really, I think for this board to understand all the issues that go along with CEQA, which is something that very few people really understand except you. And it really has been valuable on this board. So thank you very much, Mr. Ford, and congratulations.
Director, Vice President Ozahowski.
I would like to echo again that sentiment from Director Cooper. Just like to let the public know that Director Ford is one of those unsung heroes. He has done an incredible job being chair of the our watershed and water resources committee, and on several occasions he has actually pinpointed some errors or adjustments needed to be made in certain documents and publications. So for that work, further grateful on behalf of the ratepayers. Thank you, Director Ford. Back to you, President Martin.
Director Armitage.
Thank you. So I also want to share my words of thanks with you. It's been a pleasure getting to know you over the last couple of years. And thank you for being courteous and welcoming to those of us who were new board members a couple of years ago. I very much appreciated the perspectives that you've brought to the discussions that we've had, both in committee and at the board level. And as a member of the Water Resources and Watershed Committee, I can vouch that you did an excellent job as chair. So thank you again. And as I said at your last committee meeting, I wish you joy and wellness in your next chapter. So thank you.
Director Gutsai.
I'll miss you. I know we are neighbors in Newhall, relatively speaking, and I've enjoyed your measured and thoughtful comments, both on committees and at the board. I always enjoy working with directors that have that background insight to add to issues. It really helps us make good decisions, and I have enjoyed working with you for that reason, especially. So thank you and enjoy your next chapter.
Director Bronstein.
I want to echo on a more personal note that, coming on a new board, it's sometimes a little bit intimidating. We all come from very different backgrounds, and it did not go unnoticed to me that in certain social events, you actually made the effort to talk to me, to show me around, to sit next to me, to show me great kindness. So I really, really, truly appreciate that. That means a lot to me as a human being. So thank you very much.
Director Peterson.
I want to thank Jeff for his friendship and for his professional demeanor. I got to know Jeff when he first started to work at Castaic Lake Water Agency. We were both sharing trailers down at in the treatment plant here, and it always was wonderful, his advice to us as engineers and how to deal with the guppy, or I call it the stickleback, coming up the river, and considering discharges and all that. But Jeff, I appreciate all you provided, all the background you provide me in here at this agency, and thank you for your service.
Jeff, I'm really sorry to see you leave the board. You've been a tremendous asset to the board. You're a professional through and through. Your technical knowledge has been a tremendous benefit to the board and to the staff of the agency, having come from the agency and then from private sector where you actually sharpened your skills, if that's even possible. But we certainly wish you the best. going forward and perhaps and optimistically, we may see you again in the near future, I hope. And with that, I bid you best wishes for the holiday season and whatever you're going to do after the first of the year.
President
Um,
Martin, Director Kelly does have his hand up to make a
All
comment.
right, Director Kelly.
Director Ford, you remind me of John Wayne in the movie The Quiet Man. You're soft spoken, but you know what it is that you're going to say. And when you say it very well and very knowledgeable. So it's been a pleasure sitting next to you. And I look forward to many more conversations in the future, not just about water, but if we happen to see see each other out in public, I look forward to shaking your hand. Thank you very much.
Did Director Colley have a comment on this?
He does not.
Very good.
Well,
Oh.
I will add, I thank the opportunity. Yeah, Jeff, thank you. I too have really appreciated some of your very unique and positive contributions over the last few years. Thank you.
All right, so we do have comment cards on 5.1, and since we didn't separate Director Ford and Director Planback for the presentation of or rather for the approval of the resolution, those who wish to make public comment now are welcome to do so. If you'd like to wait for after we present Director Planback with her resolution, and you can
President
make
Martin,
your public comment there.
It might be more appropriate for the public to make comments during 5.2 when we actually do recognize
Okay.
them for both directors. So this
Okay.
is just approve the resolutions.
So I know we have some people who have made public comment cards for 5 and 5.1 and 5.2. So I would ask for the audience, those who wish to make public comment under item 5, to wait for item 5.2 when we will do a recognition of the service of both of these fine directors. So,
Mr. President,
yes,
excuse me, it's fine to request that, but I point out that the public does have a right to comment
Okay.
before action is taken by the board, and you are going to be voting on a resolution.
yes. All right. Anyone who wishes to make a public comment now on the motion and second, that's Mr. Dunn.
Well, I have to say I was very impressed with the performance of Lynn Planback. The Newhall County Water District we were both members of hadn't had a election in 20 years, and I realized that one day, and when I in my busy aerospace days, and asked the general manager how come, and he said, "Oh, well, we just send the names into the county and they reappoint." And so I got together with Jim and a third person, and we decided we'd quietly sneak up, and the next time there was an election, and have an election take place. And we did that, and we had 3 of us, but the third one didn't make it. So there was only 2 of us going into that board that had been that way for 28 years. But they gave us open hand to do whatever we wanted. And it was probably because of some of the things they were doing. So we decided to get in. I brought in my aerospace, and she brought in her business business knowledge. And we totally overhauled that, got rid of the junky trucks and the hand operations of pumps and tanks, and made a modern water district out of it. And I brought in SCADA and computer, and it was the only computer operated and efficient running a water district, a water agency of any kind in our valley at that time. We even had the trucks doing radio read of the meters going slowly down the street. We had that. No one else had anything like that. And we paid all debts off. And then at the end of 4 years, the powers to be around here wouldn't let us get reelected. So I was no longer there, but we did set the pace. And that's the only water agency that doesn't have a legacy debt on it now. The other 4 people got 63 million each on them. And I don't know how you do that without a vote, but they did it somehow. We were very, very pleased with the performance we got from Lynn Planback at the Newhall County Water District, and there were some great challenges. So she had some experience to bring over here. So I thought I'd let you know. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dunn. Unless there's any further public comment on the first resolution, we do have a motion and a second. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
As I call your name, please state how you vote. Hold on just a moment, Mr. President. I think we have another comment. We do. Maybe we should be more specific. So this item 5.1 is just to approve the resolutions. 5.2 is to actually recognize both.
Actually, I asked if we could consider the resolutions for Director Ford and Director Planbeck separately.
Yeah, we can, but I'm just wondering as to maybe streamline a little bit, if maybe we just approve the resolutions and let anybody who has public comment on the resolutions, just the resolutions, and maybe do them together. And then during 5.2 is when we'll separate between Director Planbeck and Director Ford, and then do public comment. Might streamline it a little bit.
All right, then I would ask Director. It was.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then we can do Director Planbeck and
Yes.
then do 5.2.
Yes.
Okay. As I call your name, but let me just make sure. Ms. Hascom, I'm going to go ahead and allow you to talk. Is your public comment, is it regarding the resolution or to recognize Director Planbeck or Director Ford?
Well, I'm very confused at this point, given what your city attorney said or your attorney there, but I would like to speak about Lynn Planbeck's service.
Okay, would you like to do that now, or would you like to wait till 5.2 when we actually recognize both directors?
I'll be happy to do that right now.
Okay, just one moment.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead and you may begin your public comment.
Great. Honorable board members, my name is Marcia Hanscom. I'm a wetlands and wildlife advocate, and I work on the other end of the county, although I'd love to come visit your area. It's so beautiful there. And I thought it was interesting to hear someone call Lynn Planbeck a serial litigator. I think I've been called similar things by some of the developers down here. But the bottom line is this woman has for 30 years worked on behalf of the public in your region. And I think she just deserves tremendous accolades for staying power, for being able to and willing to speak opposing rate hikes for the public interest, opposing water agency funding of projects that really should be funded by private interests. And she's promoted the candidacy of women in diversity for the water agencies. And I think that things are just so much better because of her service. Besides the fact that her really big star is that she has been the number one advocate for protecting the Santa Clara River for so long. And while not always successful, she has spoken for the river. She has spoken for the river and the inhabitants of the river that were here many, many, many years before we humans were here. And I'm just so grateful for that. And I know that many other people who couldn't be here tonight, but who really, want to speak for the wildlife, as you probably witnessed so many people speaking out for P22, our beloved mountain lion in the Griffith Park area. There are so many animals we share this space with. We humans do not survive on this planet alone. We cannot survive without the food web and the other animals that help sustain our own lives. And the water issue is really at the bottom line of it. The water is clean water, clear water, and accessible water for the other animals as well as for us is crucial. And I think that we will all miss Lynn Planbeck's voice on this board. So I just want to say a big, big round of thanks for her being there as the voice for the public interest and for the many, many other species that we share this planet with. Thank you.
Thank you, madam, for your public comment.
President Martin, Director Kelly has his hand up.
Go ahead, Director Kelly.
I just wanted to reconfirm the motion and the second was intended to include both of the resolutions.
No, it's just to include
No,
the resolution for Director Ford.
we're doing them separately, Director Kelly.
We did decide to do them separately. Okay.
Yes.
We do have a motion and a second. Motion by Vice President Ozerhowski, seconded by Director Cooper. As I call your name, please state how you vote. And this is to approve a resolution honoring Director Ford. Director Gutzeit, how do you vote?
Yes.
Director Cooper,
Yes.
Director Peterson,
Yes.
Director Armitage,
Yes.
Director Kelly,
Yes.
Director Colley,
Yes.
Director Bronstein,
Yes.
Director Planbeck,
Yes.
Director Ford,
I will abstain.
Vice President Ozerhowski,
Yes.
President Martin.
Yes.
Thank you. This resolution is approved, and that's resolution number SCV-320.
All right. Thank you, board. Thank you, members of the public, for your public comments. We now can consider the resolution recognizing the service of Director Planbeck. I would entertain a motion and then a second, and then we'll open to public comment.
I'd like to
Director
make a
Bronstein.
motion.
Motion by Director Bronstein.
Can I
Sec-
also say words about her, since that's how we kind of did it last time?
Second by Director Armitage. Now we can have, before we take the vote or entertain comments from the board, I know we have some public commenters cards, and I will begin with pardon me?
Yeah. Like, kind of like we did, right? Okay. So, so as of January 2023, I feel like a rare voice on this board will be missing. Regardless of if you agree or disagree with her, Director Planbeck's opinions and knowledge are one of a kind. For years, Director Planbeck fought for our water, our environment, and community. I'm in awe of her vast knowledge on almost anything water related and her willingness to share it with anyone. Being a champion of responsible, sustainable, ethical, clean water is not a simple thing. And it's remarkable to me how she was a lone minority opinion for decades. It takes great strength of character, in my opinion, to stand up at every meeting to say things that no one else is saying. She is the embodiment, in my opinion, of what a public servant is. Her goal was and always has been us. I find her inspirational and a personal hero. I know I will miss her here speaking up for us, and I hope she keeps on doing that, even if it's from the other side of the table. Thank you for your service, Lynn.
Thank you, Director Bronstein. I guess we are going to follow a slightly similar process that we did for Director Ford. We'll go ahead and have board discussion before we open to public comment. Director Armitage.
Thank you. So years ago, I started attending these water board meetings, but as a member of the public sitting over there, so that I could learn more about our local water resources. And one thing I picked up rather quickly was that Director Planbeck asked questions that I, as a ratepayer and as a resident of Santa Clarita, wanted to know the answers to. I also quickly understood that Director Planbeck recognizes the value of things beyond just dollar signs, and that some things have far greater value as essential components of larger natural systems. She was asking questions that just a few years ago could have been considered an inconvenience by some, but fast forward to today, a lot of those same questions are now part of regular dialogue up and down the state of California because they can no longer be ignored. Since coming onto the board, I have seen firsthand Director Planbeck's efforts to make the board and committee meetings accessible to all, and we are benefiting from it each and every time we have a meeting and we have members of the public or staff join us remotely to provide very important input. I've also appreciated her efforts to promote conservation equitable access to our water, close attention to our groundwater levels and quality, and promoting efficient use of our public funds that we oversee. So it is my opinion that we are all better off because of Director Planbeck's time on the boards that she has served related to our water, and most recently here with SCV Water. Thank you for watching out for our pocketbooks and for the safety and sustainability of the water that we drink. And thank you for making sure that everyone has a chance to share their voice at our meetings. You have served the public well. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Armitage. Any other comments from the board? Before we go to public comment, I would just like to say I appreciate Director Planbeck's service to the board for many, many years. Whether it's Newhall County or SCV Water, you were a member of the original directors who began SCV Water. Your efforts in that regard are appreciated, and we may not always agree on everything, but I know you're a true fighter, and you're a true believer in your cause, and I do think the SCV community is better off hearing both sides, even though we don't always agree on issues. So I congratulate you on your service and wish you well. We can now move to public comment. We do have a motion in a second, but before we take the vote, we'll do public comment. It's a bit confusing because the public comment cards, some are just 5 without saying 5-1 or 5-2, some are 5-2. So I would just invite anybody who's submitted a public comment card who wishes to speak public comment in regard to Lynn Planbeck, please come forward and do so. Ms. Fortner, come to the podium.
Is this for 5-1 or is this combination of both? Sorry. I'm confused. Stop the clock. I'm asking a question for 8. Is this just open for?
Anybody can comment at this time, but I was suggesting that we do it under.
Wait
Yeah,
until 5-2.
I was suggesting we waited until item 5.2 just to streamline it. Otherwise, you're going to go back and forth because we're doing both of them.
Right.
The resolutions really were just to approve resolutions, and then comments were going to be made during 5.2. So my suggestion is that everybody who wants to make a comment does it at 5.2 and lets us just approve the resolutions. And then makes a comment if they have one about the resolutions themselves.
Okay, so I'll wait until 5-2 when we speak directly.
That'd be
about
fine.
it. Okay.
You can come back up. Yes. All right, we do have a motion and a second. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
As I call your name, please state how you vote. Director Peterson,
Yes.
Director Gutzeit,
Yes.
Director Cooper,
Abstain?
Director Bronstein,
Yes.
Director Armitage,
Yes.
Director Colley,
Yes.
Director Ford,
Yes.
Director Kelly,
Yes.
Director Planbeck,
I'll abstain also. I wouldn't want Bill to be by himself.
Vice President Orthohofsky,
No.
President Martin.
Yes.
Thank you. This item does pass, and that's resolution number SCV-321.
Thank you, board. We now can move to item 5.2, which is the recognition of these two directors. I am going to move to the podium for the presentation of both the resolutions and the water drop. The start on, yes. Okay. Director Ford, I will go ahead and read your resolution. Jeff Ford was appointed to the Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors to the Santa Cruz Valley Water Agency Board of Directors in October of 2019 and served through December 2022. Whereas Mr. Ford has served on the agency's Engineering and Operations Committee as chair of the Water Resources Committee and Watershed Committee, and whereas Mr. Ford served as vice president of the Upper Santa Clara Valley Joint Powers Authority, and whereas Mr. Ford currently serves as president of the Devil's Den Water District, And whereas Mr. Ford currently serves as an alternate director to the Santa Clara Valley Groundwater Sustainability Agency Board, which is responsibility for sustainably managing groundwater in the Santa Clara River Valley East Subbasin. And whereas Mr. Ford supported the agency's mission statement of providing responsible water stewardship to ensure the Santa Clara Valley has reliable supplies of high quality water at a reasonable cost. And whereas Mr. Ford's wealth of knowledge and experience has provided valuable water industry insights to the agency's board of directors, and whereas Santa Clara Valley Water Agency Board of Directors deem it most fitting that Mr. Ford's outstanding service to the Santa Clara Valley Water Agency and the customers it serves be appropriately recognized. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Santa Clara Valley Water Agency Board of Directors commends and recognizes Jeff Ford for his over 3 years of service to the board and directors of the Santa Clara Valley Water Agency, and thanks him for his support of the board, employees, and customers of the Santa Clara Valley Water Agency during his time as a board member. In addition to that resolution, we have the very famous water drop recognizing Mr. Ford's service and in recognition of over 3 years of dedication and service to as a director for the Santa Clara Valley Water Agency, October 2019 through December 2022. And I would like to present you with the water drop. I will hold the resolution and after I've now broken it, I will hold this and say congratulations, Mr. Ford. Thank you, Fred. Appreciate it. I will repair this and get it back to you.
Can I, may I, Gary? Mr. Presley? Yes, thank you. There was an old speech I use sometimes that you can't, the 3 rules are you can't be too rich, too thin, or make a speech too short. And failing items 1 and 2, we go to number 3 here. I want to thank staff. You made my job very easy. The competence and the dedication and the hard work put us through some tough times, and I want to thank all of you. It was well done, and your forbearance as well too. So thank you to the board. Thank you very much for all the debates, the hard work of finding the best policy direction to benefit staff. Although they did make it easy. So I'm grateful to all of you. I'm grateful to the people who gave me this opportunity at the supervisor's office, who appointed me, and those responsible among her staff and here who got me up there. So thank you all. I enjoyed it immensely. And my wife says, Jeff, you're a pessimist. And I say, no, realist. You mispronounced it. I think you face challenges in the future, staff and board. I think it's just the way the world works, and I'm extremely grateful that the Valley's in good hands at both levels. So thank you all.
If Director Planbeck would join me at the podium, please. I will try not to break the standoff. So I will do the same thing. I will congratulate you on your service. I'll read your resolution for the public who may not have read it, who may not know what it says. This is a resolution of the Board of Directors of the Santa Clara Valley Water Agency honoring and commending Lynn Planbeck for her service and dedication. Whereas Lynn Planbeck was elected to the Newhall County Water District Board of Directors in November of 1993 and served through December of 1997. And whereas Ms. Planbeck was reelected to the Newhall County Water District Board of Directors in November of 1999 and served through December of 2017. And whereas Ms. Planbeck was served as the Newhall County Board Vice President in 2002 and Board President in 2004. And whereas Ms. Planbeck served on the Santa Clara Valley Water Agency Board of Directors from January 2018 to December 2022. And whereas Ms. Planbeck served on many committees during her years of service as a director, most recently on the agency's Engineering and Operations Committee and on the Public Outreach and Legislation Committee. And whereas Ms. Planbeck currently serves as an alternate director on the Santa Clarita Valley Groundwater Sustainability Agency Board, which is responsible for sustainably managing groundwater in the Santa Clara River Valley East Subbasin. And whereas Ms. Planbeck currently is a member of the Aqua Groundwater Committee and Aqua Water Quality Committee. And whereas Ms. Planbeck supported the agency's mission statement of providing responsible water stewardship to ensure the Santa Clarita Valley has reliable supplies of high quality water at a reasonable cost. And whereas the Santa Clarita Valley Water Agency Board of Directors deem it most fitting that Ms. Planbeck's outstanding service to the Santa Clarita Valley Water Agency and customers it serves be appropriately recognized. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Santa Clarita Valley Water Agency Board of Directors commends and recognizes Lynn Planbeck for her 27 years of service to the Board of Directors of the Newhall County Water District and the Santa Clarita Valley Water Agency, and thanks her for her support of the board employees and the customers of the Santa Clarita Valley Water Agency during her time as a board member, signed by me, the board president. I want to read the inscription on your famous water drop. So, and then I'll hold the resolution. You can take the water drop or vice versa. Maybe be more protective if you have. So in recognition of 27 years of dedication and service as a director of the Newhall County Water District and the Santa Clarita Valley Water Agency, 1994 through 1997, and through 2000 through 2022. Here, I will let's see if we can.
I had to bring my glasses.
Okay.
Why is it too big for me?
Here, I'll try not to break it.
Okay, and I have a thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I have a few words too, and I wrote it out so I wouldn't get too emotional, and it probably won't be as short as Mr. Ford's, but I want to start by thanking staff. I agree, absolutely. They are very wonderful. Sometimes I have to question what they're saying to me, but it's always I'm sure that it's very well researched on their part. And I want to say, after never missing a water district meeting and all the time I was on the board, it's going to be very odd to not be coming to meetings on Tuesdays or Thursday nights. But I want to take this opportunity to say a few things which I hope will be heeded by the board and by the community. It's unfortunate that large corporations and out-of-area PACs essentially bought a seat on our water board with hit mailer exaggerations, distortions, and outright lies. It is unfortunate for a couple of reasons. Almost half the people in this election knew those mailers weren't true. That reflects on the board's integrity. People may now look at the board with some animosity and distrust, where a cleaner election, not influenced by big development and outside interests, would give the public more trust in its elected officials. I just say that so that you all think about your next upcoming elections. Also, because the Citizens United decision, where the Supreme Court ruled that money is free speech, corporations and big money interests now have even more influence over our elected officials here in Santa Clarita and on this board. Those who stand up against corporations face the prospect of huge funding against them in the next election. Simply by threatening to spend an enormous amount of money, corporate lobbyists have unprecedented leverage over elected officials. That's wrong. As a result, it is becoming harder and harder to advance a public interest agenda on any issue affecting corporations, from climate change to sustainable water practices, and in the case of a water board seat, to healthcare workers, women's, and other rights, etc., in an assembly or congressional seat. I have been a strong voice on this board for accurate water supply reporting and to address climate change, which will affect the sustainability of our water resources and the long-term viability of the Santa Clara River, this community's most precious treasure. I have been so grateful for the support of two directors, Beth Bronstein and Kathy Armitage, for adding their voices to these concerns. But it is time that this entire board stop saying we have plenty of water and start planning for a future with reduced water supply before it is too late. And I appreciate Mr. Ford's statement that there's going to be challenges ahead, because there certainly are. But our reservoirs throughout California are still below normal. Our groundwater is already at a max, the max it can give. You must provide guidance and leadership to protect our local groundwater supplies, our recharge areas, and our floodplains. The times when you could destroy your own local resources and just go and get the water from another watershed are over. You must work with city and county planning to do a better job protecting our local water resources so that this community and the river can continue to thrive. You cannot let things go until it is so out of hand that everyone will be hurt, as is happening in the Colorado River. You must all be better stewards of our environment and make changes now so that you can avoid future emergencies. And I think not having hit mailers in elections would help too. Thank you.
All right, we will resume public comment on this item. We do have Andrew Taban in the audience, I believe, who represents Assemblywoman Chavo. If you would come to the podium and make your comments.
Hello, thank you. It's an honor to be here on behalf of Assemblywoman Pilar Schiavo. One of the interesting things about when you're newly elected and you come into a vacant office, by the way, is you have very limited supplies, as in not even a pen. However, you tend to send out stuff. So, Mr. Ford, your certificate is on its way, but we are teaming up with multiple offices. But I'll speak here on behalf of Director Planbeck. Lynn, I've known you for many years, and it's a privilege to come here and thank you for your service for over for 3 decades to the Water Board. I think one of the most incredible things about you when you look at elected office is a lot of people tend to think of the legacy that they're going to leave behind. And in all the years that I've known you, I don't think that's ever come across once in a conversation that I've had with you is what are you going to leave behind? And I think that is going to be your legacy. It's never been about you. It's always been about the ratepayers, protecting the agency, and trying to do what's best for our community. And so on behalf of the California State Legislature and Assemblywoman Pilar Schiavo, we want to thank you for your years of service. And I know you're not going anywhere. I know because you've called me. So thank you. And I think the one thing we can always say about you is while people may not agree with you, you always have cared about this community. So thank you. I don't know if this is the correct way to do it. I'm just okay.
Thank you, Mr. Taban. Please pass along our thanks to Assemblywoman Chavo. All right, I do see Valerie Bradford in the audience, and you have a public comment that you'd like to make. Please come forward.
Thank you, directors. As you said, my name is Valerie Bradford, and I just want to take a minute to honor Director Lynn Planbeck. I decided to serve this community about 2.5 years ago. And when I did, and I did that to run for a seat on this very board. And when I did that, it was your legacy. It was your history. It was your experience and expertise that I looked to learn from. And I just want to take a minute to say thank you. Thank you for your decades of service. Thank you for being the trailblazer. Even though blazing that trail took decades, it has worked because it is changing. And so I just want to say thank you for all that you've done and for all of your expertise and for your caring for this community.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Bradford. I'd like to call to the podium Susie Kaufman. She's been waiting to make comment about, as she puts it, saying goodbye to Lynn Planbeck.
Hi, I wasn't planning to say anything, and people who know me know that I'm good at not saying anything, and I do try to say something. But Lynn, I've known you and of you for 36 years, and you're a hero to me. And, you know, I'm an environmentalist and I'm an animal rescuer, especially of wildlife. I can't think of many people who are greater than you to me here in Santa Clarita. I'm humbled by you. Can you hear it? Can you hear my heart going? I love you very much, and I love what you've tried so hard to do for all of us, and I wish people would listen harder. You've done so much for this water agency, or at least you've tried your damnedest. You've tried so hard, and that's why I've attended almost every single water agency meeting since we got the other two bright women to join in with you. I'm struggling for words because the tears that are stopped up in my brain are fighting me right now. But I'm grateful, and I know you're not going to give up. So count on me. I can remember Scope, of course, and Scope still exists. So there's that. But don't anybody give up on Lynn at all. Just don't give up on her, please. Please don't give up on her, and encourage her and encourage one another to follow in her footsteps. What hurts me so much tonight was when nobody in the board except, we all know what happened, don't we? Nobody applauded her from the men's sector. I couldn't believe that. I just couldn't believe it. Just the discourtesy alone and the lack of decency. This woman is Santa Clarita, the kind of that I would like it to be. I'm out of words because that's who I am. I'm Susie Kaufman, who never has the right words until I get home or I'm in the car and going, damn it. Lynn, I love you. I'm going to miss you, but I'll find you.
Thank you, Ms. Kaufman. Stacy Fortner, you have a card for 5.2.
You may have difficulty hearing me, but there's so much that I really wanted to say, but tonight I'm not going to let my personal feelings about this election discolor or take anything away from the honor that we owe to Lynn Planbeck. So I'm here today to honor Lynn and her years of service. She's that rare water board member that is selfless, dedicated, and focused on the greater good. It has been difficult for me to put pen to paper and gather my thoughts on Lynn leaving the board tonight. In one way, I feel like this is a freeing moment for Director Planbeck. She's now unfettered to hold this agency accountable for its actions. And on the other hand, I'm terribly sad that we'll be missing her sage wisdom of all things Santa Clara River, water conservation, and her passion for biodiversity. Having just spent a week in Montreal, attending COP15 and witnessing the plenaries where 190 countries are coming to agreement on a global 30 by 30 plan and recognizing that we have not been good stewards of our precious planet, I now realize just how important Lynn's voice is on this board. We owe Lynn a debt of gratitude for her tireless and thankless work on biodiversity and praise her for being the environmental champion for the Santa Clara River and for our community that she has been. She has never been anti-development. I don't think any of us are, but we do stand up for working class and for the planet that we're trying to protect from assured destruction. We are entering into the 6th mass extinction, and Lynn understands this. Her votes were always about the bigger and broader benefit. We should remember the voices of reason and that her votes were always about the greater good for the community. For almost 25 years, she was a lone voice on the board for protection of natural resources and the environment. We will miss her knowledge of the impacts of the projects on the community. We will miss her inquisitive nature. We will miss her steadfast devotion to preserving natural spaces and her expertise on all things water and her commitment to our community. We love you, Lynn, and we can only hope to live up to the legacy that you leave behind. Thank you for your service.
Thank you, Ms. Fortner. I do have 2 public comments on 5.2 that were submitted online, and I'd like to read them. The first one is from Ellie Braunwine, and it reads as follows. Many thanks to Lynn Planbeck for her numerous years on the Water Board dedicated to promoting clean water, ample water supplies, and fair pricing for all residents of the Santa Clarita Valley. She was and continues to be a true advocate, voice for the people and their environment. And we also have a written public comment for Ms. Planbeck from Cynthia Harris. It reads as follows. Art Perkins, the founder of the Newhall County Water Company, would have been very proud of the actions of Lynn Planbeck since she was elected to the board in 1993. Our family are lifetime residents of Newhall and remember when, quote unquote, Perk would come to the door and ask for payment. He was concerned about water quality, just like Ms. Planbeck has shown in her 40 years of serving the citizens of Santa Clarita. She has promoted testing and monitoring of our water wells and encouraged self-sufficiency. She has stood by her beliefs that polluted water should not be served or counted as being available to the public. As we approach yet another year of a drought with mandatory water rationing, where are many of us in Santa Clarita who will continue to question allowing new development to demand water service. SEA next to Stevenson Ranch, west of I-15 freeway. The Art Perkins Award for Excellence should be presented to Lynn Planbeck for her hard work to keep clean water available to the Santa Clarita citizens. Very truly, Cynthia Harris. That concludes the public comments that I have in writing. Do we have any other members of the public online who wish to comment?
We do. Marcia Hanscom does have a public comment for item 5.2. You may begin your public comment, Marcia.
Thank you. I've already spoken highly of Lynn, and I could probably speak for another hour about her because of all the wonderful work that I and others have witnessed that she has done over the years. But what I want to really speak to now is the votes that I noticed you just took and how we as a people need to reconsider how we treat each other, because, you know, this is supposed to be similar to what we have in the United States Capitol and in our federal government, we're supposed to have a peaceful transfer of power at all levels of government. And that's kind of what this is, where you're, I love how your board chair treated both of the people leaving. I think that was done with very much respect. And I loved hearing the two women who spoke about Lynn Planbeck's service. But I really was concerned when I heard someone say abstain for the first person that is leaving, and then another abstention for the second person leaving, and then a no vote even. And I think that I just would really hope that you all might go home and think about whatever religion guides you, whatever philosophies guide you in your everyday living, that we start thinking better about how we treat each other in these public spaces. You're all examples for others in our communities. And we just really, to say that someone has served on a board for more than 30 years and can't even bring yourself to say, wow, that's an amazing amount of service, no matter how you feel about one vote or another. I just would hope that you all might look within. Tomorrow's the winter solstice. It's my favorite day of the year, where I spend time looking within. Be calm, think about the winter, the darkness, and the light that's coming, and just consider how much more we might be able to accomplish together when we're being kind and loving to each other. And Lynn, so much love and respect for all that you've done for Santa Clarita and for Southern California, where you are a champion and known to be by many, many of your peers. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hanscom. All right, I think I'll just like to invite Mr. and Mrs. Dunn, if you want to come forward and make your comment. I think your public comment cards, I probably confused them, so I may have confused you as well. So if you'd like to come forward and make public comment, please do so.
Thank you. I wasn't going to speak because I thought, well, Ed could do that and he does it pretty well. But I did want to mention those things that Newhall would not have been accomplished had it not been for Lynn being there and helping go through some of these issues that were going on. There were employees that were working getting paid overtime way after they had gone home. Anyway, there were a lot of problems to take care of. But the one thing that I did want to talk about is years ago, I followed CLWA for a lot of years and Newhall County. And CLWA, before my husband got on, I noticed that all of the directors never said a word. They just said, I, everything was passed and that was it. So when he got on the board, he started asking questions. And, we started having conversations. Now, that's the way a board should work. And I've noticed over the years from that time that a lot of this is still going on. And I will certainly say that Lynn has been very good about being vocal and asking questions. And that she's reading her information in her packets. Sometimes I wonder about some of the others, but I know that she is just by her questions. So I really want to commend her for that. And that is something that this whole board, I am happy to see it is going on still on this board, that you are all asking questions and talking, not just sitting back and saying, I, and passing everything. So I mainly wanted to say that because I am very pleased that that's going on. That is open government. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dunn. And with that, I believe this concludes item 5, special procedures, and we are going to take a brief recess and enjoy some cupcakes. And so we are hereby in recess celebrating the service of these 2 board members. Item 6.3, which was emailed, posted to the SCV Water website, and is at each of our spots. The modification on the resolution was that the funding request was reduced by $32 from $5,304,672 to $5,304,640 due to fine tuning of the application, which was submitted on Thursday, December 15th. All right, so hopefully you'll understand which item that relates to. So I would entertain a motion for approval of the consent calendar.
So moved, Goodsite.
Motion by Director Goodsite. We're still waiting for Director Cooper. There he is. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Director Ford. And before we take a vote, I think we should ask for public comment. I do think we had a public comment. I don't have any public comment cards. I take that back. I do have one wandering around here somewhere. Oh, here it is. I do have a public comment card on item 6.2 from Joan Dunn. If Miss Dunn has not left the building, I don't see her unless she's hiding. All right. If she comes back, I will invite her to make her public comment. And we have a motion and a second. Director Armitage.
I just have a couple comments. So for 6.2, the local hazard mitigation plan, I just wanted to say that I appreciated having the opportunity to reread the plan. And I consider it to be a really important document for this agency. And I look forward to hearing about the updates as noted that will come to us as progress reports as to how we're meeting the stated actions. I also want to say thank you to whoever included the public comments that were made when I guess the survey went out initially related to it. I thought those were really great for us to be able to read those and see what the public was commenting about in terms of the bar charts, but also the individual comments. So I know that was a lot of extra paper. Thank you for including that. I really appreciated that. And then lastly, for 6.4, I just want to say thank you to the staff who I take to mean Ms. Fowler, who's submitting the grant application. It looks like we're not paying a consulting group to do this one. We're doing this in-house ourselves, and I think that's fantastic. So thank you.
Thank you, Director Armitage. I neglected to ask if there are any public comments online for the consent calendar.
There is not.
Thank you very much. Any other discussion from the board? We do have a motion and a second. Unless there's further discussion, Madam Secretary, will you please call the roll?
As I call your name, please state how you vote. Director Goodsite.
Yes.
Director Planbeck.
Yes.
Director Armitage.
Yes.
Director Colley. Director Colley. I'll come back to Director Colley. Director Kelly.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, thank you, Director Colley. For record, that was Director Colley who voted yes. Director Kelly.
Yes.
Director Ford.
Yes.
Director Bronstein.
Yes.
Director Cooper.
Yes.
Director Peterson.
Yes.
Vice President Ozahoski.
Yes.
President Martin.
Yes.
Thank you. This item does pass, and those are resolution numbers SCV-322, SCV-323, SCV-324, and SCV-325.
All right. Thank you, board. We can move on to item 7, action item, single item for approval. Item 7.1, approve receiving and filing SCV Water June 30, 2022 annual comprehensive financial report. Our presenter tonight is Rochelle Patterson. Unless General Manager Stone wishes to have comments to begin. Only while she's walking out.
President Martin, did you want to mention that there was the revised,
I think she's going to cover that, but
Did I, excuse me?
the revised items that were
Oh,
handed out and got their spot and was posted?
7. Oh, yes. Before you go on, Rochelle, I need to mention that there was a revised staff report and the ACFR sent out yesterday, posted to the website, and is at each of your spots, each of our spots. The staff report showed the changes on a red line, and the ACFR changes are highlighted in yellow. So important to make that notification. And Ms. Patterson, proceed, please.
Yes, so Amy Ager, our controller, is going to be presenting this item, and she will also touch on the reason why there is an amended report in your packet.
Good evening, President Martin and members of the board. I'm an audit nerd, so I'm here to present your audit at a high level. I'm happy to answer any questions about the audit. As the recent collapse of FTX has shown, audits are really important and internal controls are really important. Unfortunately, there's fraud at government agencies as well. So I'm really happy to report that we have really good auditors and our staff has a lot of integrity. And this audit this year has no findings. And we got a clean opinion, which is the best unmodified opinion you can get. So we have our first slide. Rochelle asked me to go over, because this is kind of the first presentation of the audit as a whole for this group of the board. She asked me to go over at a high level the different sections of the revised board, or revised ACFR is what it's called, the annual comprehensive report. So I was just going to do like a flyover. So if you have your revised report, if you turn to the first page, this is your table of contents, and it will show you all the different items in here. Because if I weren't an accountant and I picked this up, I'd think, okay, there's a bunch of printing, there's a bunch of numbers. What does it mean? So there's 3 main sections. There's an introductory section, there's a financial section, and then if you turn the page over, there's a statistical section, okay? If you go to page, let's see, there's Roman numerals. So if you go to page I, Roman numeral 1, that begins the transmittal letter that is drafted by Rochelle and Matt Stone, and Matt signs it. It gives information to readers of our financial statements about the economics in our area, trends, unemployment, hiring, inflation, all about the agency. It's so that people that are non-technical accounting people can get a feel for our agency. There's a lot of good information there. If you want to read about another agency, that's a good place to learn about them. Then if you turn to Roman numeral 13, that's a map that shows our service map. So if you have any constituents that are curious about our service area, it's right in here. This document is on our website. If you turn to the next page, you'll notice some familiar faces, our board of directors. And then our organizational structure is shown on the page next to our familiar board of directors. And then one of the most important pages, it's page 1, but if you just turn to the next page, this is our auditor's independent report, where they tell you, independent of staff, that what they found, and they gave us a clean opinion, which is the best we can do. Then if you go a few more pages, it's page 5. This is another major section. This is a good section. Perhaps board members would want to read it because it gives you some summary information. It discusses the changes That's the management discussion and analysis. And if you go to pages 8 and 9, that shows you summary level tables. These are kind of more in English than the ones in fine, 2-point font. But it shows you, it's called the statement of net position. In English, if anybody's been in business, that's a balance sheet. And then there's the, government accounting has to have a different name for everything. So then we have, instead of the profit and loss, it's called the statement of revenues, expenses, and changes in net position. In English, that's a profit and loss. Okay. Net position is a fancy word for equity. So for anyone that owns a home, let's say, hypothetically speaking, your home is worth $500,000. If you owe $200,000 on it, then your equity is $300,000. So the equity, the paper gain, is $300,000, and then you may not have $300,000 cash in the bank, but your equity in your home is $300,000. So that's what net position is, because like I said, government has to call everything something different. If you go to page 11, here's a table on, these have two tables, capital assets and our debt. You'll see that if you look at capital assets, we have capital assets not being depreciated. Those are made up of land and then our construction work in progress. We have over $100 million in projects in progress right now. So that tells you how much work is going on. But we spent almost $49 million on capital assets and projects. $12.5 million of that was debt funded with our bond proceeds. Almost $25 million of it was pay-go. And then we had another $11.6 million that was for vehicles, tech, services, state water project, and other water rights. Then we have this item. If you're on page 11, you'll see accumulated depreciation and amortization. You'll see over here the variance is $38,000. That's non-cash. So it didn't cost us any cash, but it's depreciation. That number, until we did the research and got the revision, that number was 58 million higher. And that would have been a direct decrease of our net position or equity. And so after it went to the F&A committee, I really started thinking that didn't make sense to me. So I did a lot more research working with staff and went back to the audited financials back to 7980 and recreated all of that work. And so we're going to fix it. And it turns out our depreciation was correct. It was when we converted into Oracle, it caught a date from our conversion back in 2007. So a lot of detail just to say Oracle fixed it and then we refixed it. So that's the main reason for the change. Okay. Next section, if you go to page 13, these are the basic financial statements. A lot of technical stuff there. Page 19 shows the notes to the financial statement. This is another really good area if you want to learn about an agency, a government agency. You can read the notes. There's a lot more detail. And then if you go back to page 63, shows the basic financial statements, but it's broken out between the large agency and the three, they're called BCUs, blended component units. And in English, all that means is it's a small separate legal entity, but this board controls it. So it's blended into our big audit. So that includes the upper SCV JPA, Devil's Den, and the SCV GSA. So those are included there if you ever wanted to see those audits. Another really important one talking about FTX and the importance of internal controls if you go to page 69, there's a report from our auditors on our internal controls, shows that everything's fine. If something wasn't fine, they are required to report it to you. And then our last section, last but not least, is the statistical section. And the description of the different schedules begins on page 71 and then goes through the rest. And that shows in more graphic illustration the trends for our agency. Okay. Next slide, April, please. So this slide shows the main change. The top portion there shows what our ACFR, the Annual Comprehensive Financial Report, looked like before we fixed this correction. There was 53.8 million in depreciation on our Earl Schmidt plant. And it goes way back, but way back when our agency was using DataStream, they converted into SunGuard in 2007, and they just added up everything that was paid into Earl Schmidt between January 180 and 2007, lumped it in and put it in service January 1st, 1980. So we went from 0 to 100 plus million. So then when we converted into Oracle, Oracle said, oh, forget this. This should have been fully depreciated by now, and hit the financials with another 53 million in depreciation. So that's when I went back and researched. I'm like, no. So it turns out upon recalculating based on those very legacy financials that our depreciation was correct. It's just, Oracle's very specific, and that's a strength of the program. But it was just, as Rochelle would say, one of those niggling things that carried forward through a really old conversion into this one. So the good news is our corrected restatement, we do have a restatement of 408,000, but that is for, you've met our fleet and warehouse manager, Jesus. And one of the first things he did when he started with the agency, he went around, he quantified, categorized, inventoried every vehicle, every generator. He was told, oh, there's like 3 or 4, and at last count, he was at 22. So these are for adding some assets that he quantified. And once we went into Oracle, we spent a lot of time making sure everything was tied out. So it's been great to have him on staff to help with that. Any questions on this slide?
Before we go to questions from the board, do we have any public comments online? I have no public comment cards.
We do not.
Very good.
Okay, next slide, please, April.
Not done yet. Thought we were done.
Okay, sorry, I couldn't hear what was said. One more slide, please, April. There we go. Okay. Statement of net position. Once again, net position is the same thing as equity. So your personal net worth or equity. So the left bunch of columns is what we own, our assets. The middle column are our liabilities, or what the agency owes. So if you take what we own and subtract what we owe, that gives us our net position. And I know one of the questions one of our directors likes to ask is, how is our net position? So you can see over the 3 years, the far right columns, our net position has been increasing, which shows the health of the agency is improving. Next slide, please, April. Okay, net position for government agencies has 3 very specific components. The big blue bar is what's called net investment in capital assets. And as you can imagine, we have massive dollars in our plants, our water treatment plants, our mains, our sewer, little sewer, the booster stations, our office buildings. So that is what's in the blue bar, and you can see it's been going up because we've been building plant, and then also developers have been contributing projects to us as they complete those. And our capital assets, we have 144 million between our land and our construction in progress. And then we have 1.2 billion in plant assets, vehicles, computers, buildings, everything. So that has gone up. The orange bar over those 3 years is restricted net position. That means we have some equity, but we can only use it for what we received it for. So the taxes we receive for state water project, that's restricted to be used only for state water project. Our bond proceeds, our 2020 bond, we still have some money, that's restricted. And then the other part that's restricted is our capacity fees. So those have to be used for future growth projects. And then the top one is our unrestricted net position. And that's our working capital. We can use that for whatever the board designates it for. And that has gone down over the last 3 years because we've put almost 49 million into capital assets, and we've also paid down our debt. So we're doing good things. It's just a lot of that went into our capital asset blue bar. Okay. Next slide, please, April. Here's our long-term debt. We have 4 active issues, the 1999A. Our auditor pointed out at the F&A committee that this is the first year that we've started paying cash debt service on the 99A certificates of appreciation or certificates of participation or the capital appreciation bonds. They're both. So that debt service is about 10.5 million a year. It started in fiscal year 22. It's 10.5 million each year through fiscal year 31. Our other debt service is the 2018A, 2020A, and then our big kahuna in the yellow here is the 2020B. And that's a large debt issuance because we refunded 3 debt services with it. We did 2015A, 2016A, and 2017A, and saved money when we did that. So those are the 4. Any questions on that? Director Gutzai?
You want to wait till the end?
I would say, since we don't have any public comment, I doubt we're going to have any. I would say go ahead and go with your question.
Okay. I just want to ask really quickly, if you know this. I remember at F&A he mentioned the capital appreciation debt is unusual. Or currently unusual. It used to be more common. And I have heard that it's unfavorable. Can at some point we talk about that? If not tonight, is that something that we can change to a more favorable kind of debt, or is it too late? And you can answer me offline if not, but you just reminded me when you made that comment.
My understanding is these, and Rochelle can correct me if I'm wrong, but we cannot refinance the cabs.
Okay. Is that correct?
That is correct. She's
Okay.
nodding yes at me.
Yeah. Okay. Because we already kind of had the benefit of it all this time. And now it's payment time, essentially. Okay. Thank you.
Right. And yes, these are unusual. These are from 30 years ago, give or take. And they are unusual in that the interest is added onto the principal every year. So that's different. But they will be paid off in fiscal year 31. So that's the good news. That's good. Okay, next slide, please, April. Okay, this shows all of our revenues. This is all the revenues. So whether they're operating revenues, non-operating, or contributed capital. So the biggest line there is what you would expect, our water sales. And then we have two categories of property taxes. The first one is our restricted, which is the money we receive for state water project. We received 36 million in fiscal year 22. Our 1% property tax, we received 30 million. Our other things are, our capacity fees, reimbursements for PERC. The next line is legacy debt revenue, and then interest, and then a little bit of federal grants. We got 3.9 million in federal grants, but we had pass-throughs to sub-grantees of about 3.5 million. So the net is that little tiny bar. Okay. Next slide, please, Jonathan. Okay, these are our expenses. These are operating expenses, and then the state water project and interest expense. So the big blue pie slice there is for state water project, and that comes out of our restricted property taxes for state water project. So that has a separate funding source. But the good news for those of you that like to tie things out, which is normally only me, but if you go back a slide, Jonathan, if you take our total revenues and then back to the next slide and subtract our total expenses, that equals our change in net position, which is what it's supposed to do. So if you want to know why our net position changed, it's because we got more revenue in than we had expenses. And then next slide, please. That's just the recommendation is that the board of directors receive and file our fiscal year 22 annual comprehensive report. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right. Thank you, Amy, for the presentation. Before we go on with questions, let's check again for public comment. Oh, April is not there. So I'm going to assume that there are no public comments online, as we checked a few minutes ago, and there were not. So this is the receive and file item. If there's any further board discussion, or I would entertain a motion to receive and file. Motion by Director Cooper.
Second by RJ.
Did you want a second?
I wanted to second, and I also wanted to make a comment, but it's fine. RJ can have it.
Director Bronstein had her hand up before. I think that's you, RJ, but we will give her the honor of seconding this motion. But the board secretary is not there, I don't think. But
Can I also make a comment?
Go ahead, sure.
I just wanted to thank Amy so much for the presentation and also for going back, for catching that. That's just shows like what amazing, staff we have and dedicated staff that went back and analyzed everything. I was like, wait, something. So thank you. And your presentation was amazing as well.
Thank you very much.
Let's see if I got this. Okay, so this is 7.1 and thank you, Madam Secretary. We do have a motion and a second. First, the motion was by Director Cooper. The second was by Director Bronstein. And I would ask that you would call the roll.
As I call your name, please state how you vote. Director Planbeck.
Yes.
Director Armitage.
Yes.
Director Bronstein.
Yes.
Director Peterson.
Yes.
Director Colley.
Yes.
Director Ford.
Yes.
Director Cooper.
Yes.
Director Gutzeit.
Yes.
Director Kelly.
Yes.
Vice President Orzechowski.
Yes.
President Martin.
Yes.
Thank you. This item does pass.
Very good. Thank you, board. Thank you, staff, for the presentation. We can move on to item 8, annual consideration of the general manager's agreement. Under that is 8.1, consider salary determination and update the general manager's agreement following annual performance evaluation. Please note that there was a revised salary survey that was sent out last week and posted to the website, and it is at each of your spots. So I will begin the discussion on this item. I think we're all aware that General Manager Stone received an excellent performance evaluation from the board. The final evaluation has been sent out to everyone. And I would call your attention to the salary survey that was presented. And please note that General Manager's salary is well below those that are in the column marked October, November 2022, at least what I would call the top half of the agencies that we consider comparators. And so I would like to recognizing General Manager Stone's excellent performance evaluation this year. I would propose that we adjust his annual salary from $25,446 to an even $27,000. That would place him pretty much in the middle of the pack and represent about a 6.1% increase in his salary. And I would like to make that motion. Director Cooper.
Yes, I think in consideration of the evaluation that the general manager received his performance, and our agency now we're a big agency. We're the one of the largest in Southern California. We're both wholesale retail. We're importers. We're a member of the state water contractors. This has become a large organization, and I think it really showed the other day at the Christmas luncheon of how many employees that we have now. And they are just a tremendous staff that we've got. The general manager is doing a fine job. And really the agencies that are kind of in the top half of this are very comparable to the kind of operation that we have. Orange County Sanitation District, Coachella, Zone 7, those are all very comparable agencies, as well as Cayugas United. And I would second your motion for an even 27,000 compensation.
Madam Secretary, do we have any public comment before we open up to further board discussion or a vote?
We do not.
Very good. So we do have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion from the board before we call for the vote? Seeing none, I would ask Madam Secretary, please call the roll on the motion.
As I call your name, please state how you vote. Director Cooper.
Yes.
Director Gutzeit.
Yes.
Director Kelly.
Yes.
Director Armitage. Sorry.
Yes.
There we go. Director Bronstein.
Yes.
Director Peterson.
Yes.
Director Planbeck.
Yes.
Director Ford.
Yes.
Director Colley.
Yes.
Vice President Ozahovsky.
Yes.
President Martin.
Yes.
Thank you. The general manager's salary has been increased to 27,000. That's a 6.1% increase.
Thank you, board. And thank you, Mr. Stone, for your excellent performance as our general manager. We can move on to, coincidentally, we're moving on to item 9, General Manager's Report on Activities, Projects, and Programs. Mr. Stone.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate the board's action on that. Let me gather my notes here. I did have a few comments and follow up on the evaluation. I had shared with the board as the practice has become a list of kind of combined organizational and personal efforts for 2022, and also gave you at least a first set of goals for 2023. And we are going to be doing a strategic plan this year too, so that will probably get way more into the details of our next several years of organizational goals. I'll just kind of highlight, I had some goals that were board related, the strategic plan itself as well, some drought response and conservation related goals, water resources related. We have a number of initiatives there we're still pursuing to firm up our reliability in the face of changes that we are trying to deal with. Groundwater treatment, continuing to implement groundwater treatment facilities, legal action and cost recovery for said groundwater treatment. So put those right together. Staffing and HR related issues, financial efforts, as well as an effort to increase board literacy in our financials. So I think you've seen a couple of things, and we'll continue to see a quarterly presentation here at the board of our quarterly financial report, as well as Amy's excellent walkthrough of the audit. Who knew that an audit could be that much fun? I was very impressed with the flyover and the ability to put that into language that everyone can understand and context. So I appreciate that. Number of operational issues, technical engineering services, technical services. So you can kind of see it follows our organization a bit, and watershed related initiatives. I did have a more detailed 2-page list, but rather than read that to you, I'd be happy to just make sure as we go through the year to touch on some of those as they're happening and being realized. I do want to, part of that process is also the board has a chance to provide feedback on specific issues, and those are aggregated and categorized somewhat along the lines of the review format. And our facilitator for that has met with me to go over those, and we've had a subsequent follow-up meeting. Part of that process is I cull through that whole multi-page review and pull out some key focus areas for myself for the coming year. And I kind of categorize those in similar ways. So for GM and board communications and responsiveness, we'll continue to have our one-on-one meetings scheduled in about 30 to 60 minutes as suited for what the director's needs are for touching base. And they can be virtual or in person. And of course, April does a great job of writing herd on getting those on the calendar. Continuing to provide GM reports at the board meetings, and a suggestion that came out of that process also was notes. If for some reason we run out of time in a board meeting, we're okay tonight. We're not at the witching hour. But if so, I'll try to have backup notes available that could be sent around, which is this thing I'm generally trying to read from and put into easy words. I did see one comment that I was concerned about, which was not responding to emails. So I went back and reviewed correspondence. I can't identify the specific situation, but you have my commitment to be diligent about that as well. I want to give each of you permission that if I am not responding for some reason to a phone message or an email, there always is the chance it's fallen through the cracks or the IT spam filter. And feel free to contact myself or April to try to make sure that I get a prod. If I haven't responded to something, say within 48 hours, unless it's urgent, at which point you can contact anyone immediately if it's urgent. I would also ask, and I think the board has been very good about this, we want to have good communication about things that are happening. So there is a lot of access to our department heads and key technical staff for clarifying items, particularly to try to streamline questions that might come up in committee, help staff be prepared to answer those questions, or may even resolve them. I would just ask that when you do that, if you can copy me on the request or the question, that is helpful to me to know that that's taking place, so that I am also as informed. The obvious exception would be if there's a complaint about me from staff, then don't copy me. Follow the correct protocol. Leave me out of it, because we want to make sure we do things above board from that standpoint. Another area of emphasis for us, and we've started that conversation in our management team, and there's a lot of enthusiasm about it. I thought a really thoughtful feedback. There was sort of a positive and then you can do better kind of a concept for that, which was the board is very pleased to be able to see a variety of staff growing their skills and making presentations in committees and at the board meeting. Again, Amy, nice job tonight. But there was also and we think you can even take another level higher, which is to try to elevate the level of presentation skills among all of those staff that are presenting and being more purposeful about it. So we will be doing some training and some thoughts about kind of standards and just trying to help everybody that's in that process. Some departments do sort of preview runs with a group of staff to kind of tire kick the presentation a bit, and we may try to spread that. Sometimes there isn't time, but we will try to elevate where we are in that, and I appreciate that thoughtful feedback as well. Another element of that was referencing guiding documents. So we have sort of had an informal or a couple comments about that, and some departments have sort of embraced that. But we will be pushing to make that kind of the norm. So for example, when there's an action item, we will have a section on the board report form that will reference the applicable strategic plan goal or goals that item pertains to. So be working on some format changes for that in the first few months of next year. We talked about financial condition awareness already. One of the things we've had to put off because of COVID that Kathy has ready to go, we'll be launching is the Water Academy, which we are looking forward to that as another avenue. We have many avenues to reach the public, but this will be yet another one, and for the public to reach us with their feedback. And then the last one that I really thought was a great suggestion, and we've done it a few years ago, but I think it is time to do it again. And I've started reaching out to a few of my peers at some of these agencies on the matrix, as well as a few that are further afield, to look at what tools they're using to assess the employee experience and get feedback on that. So we will be doing that at some point this year as well. So that's kind of a short list of focus areas in addition to the bigger organizational goals. And I have a couple of items on the actual GM report, if I can find it. Let's see. I was going to do this separate. There we go. Separate, because I wasn't sure when you were going to ask for my feedback on the review. Well, first, I want to acknowledge and thank 3 members of the board here tonight or remotely here in the case of RJ. First, Jeff, shortest term, so first acknowledgement, 3 good years, and really appreciated your diligence and particularly being kind of the CEQA safety net for us a few times and saying that wording could probably be better. And I think that's gotten the staff in habits of checking each time, and appreciate that. But also just your general interest and commitment, which I think many of the comments tonight spoke to. Lynn, it has been a pleasure. 5 years for this stint, and I have always appreciated, even when we would kind of push each other's buttons sometimes, that we always recovered and we had a good conversation. And appreciate your diligence on a number of issues. I think as Gary said in one way, I think it's good to have the different thoughts in the room for that conversation. And I know we had our last one-on-one sort of, as you said, your exit interview just this last week. And it struck me that, one of the things about merging the agencies is it's put us in the same room together to have those conversations. And I hope that will continue. And I very much look forward to seeing you and hearing your perspective. And then RJ, I hope that you are ensconced somewhere comfortable with the grandkids and appreciate your. I worked with you the longest of all, 7 years because of the time at Castaic, and I appreciate your ongoing diligence about financial issues and financial reporting, and working with our different financial staff during that transition period, and hanging in there, and always having a kind of a, not a skeptical point of view, but willing to kind of look at things from a fresh point of view at different times. So thank you all for that. Not a ton of other things to report. I did attend several state water contractor meetings last week in Sacramento. We had some retirements from some very long-term technical and management staff from some of the other contractors. So we're still seeing that tsunami of retirements. And then, as mentioned, we had our first staff holiday meeting, all staff meeting and luncheon for the first time since 2019 that we've been able to do that. And we had it at the activity center, which was low budget for us. The city gives us a really nice deal and helps a great deal in terms of making sure that we can use that space once we pick a date that's not booked. And our Impact Committee, EMPACT, Employee Activity Committee, knocked it out of the park. That was the best holiday party I've been to in the public sector. I went to a pretty darn good one when I was in the private sector, but it was, and I mean that from the standpoint of fun, not largesse or luxury, but it just felt really fun. And there was points when I was just sitting back watching all these different little things happening, games in different corners and activities, and it seemed like there was something there that suited everyone. And so I very much appreciate that, and I think it was a nice capsulization of the emerging culture and spirit here that we are striving for. Work hard, have fun, and work hard again. So thank you for that. That's it for tonight.
Thank you, Matt. Before we go to questions from the board, do we have any public comment, April?
We do not.
All right, open it up for board discussion. Are there any questions? Director Guzek.
Just a quick comment. I want to, I'll go ahead and second that was the funnest public sector Christmas party. And I'm going to recognize Rochelle, who was the queen of the games extraordinaire at Newhall County Water District, getting that tradition in here. And I want to share that I talked to a relatively new employee of the agency that I know tangentially through the community. And they said they really felt welcomed, and they really felt that everyone was pulling in the same direction at this agency. And it was, again, a fun place to work, a rewarding place to work. So that actually meant a lot to me too, just hearing that at the event, and getting to have that conversation and getting to have some individual conversations with other people that maybe we primarily see on Zoom even now. Got to know some people better. So I think there was a lot of good vibes for that event. Thank you.
Any other comments about Director Bronstein?
I want to echo the thoughts about the holiday party. And for me, it was very interesting because most people didn't know who I was. I got people thinking that I was in my 30s, so it was really great because no, honestly, normally that gets me upset, but however, they thought I was just somebody from a different department that just newly got to the board. So not to the board, to the agency. They thought I worked there. So they were talking to me probably maybe a little bit more honestly than they would if they knew that I was the board director. And don't be like, it was really nice though. And first of all, we have great people working for us that are just willing to talk to anybody and like very accepting and encouraging and all that. But they also had really good things to say about the agency. So then they got a little taken aback later on when I revealed that I was, because then they're like, so what do you do? And I'm like, well, I think between the jumper and the purple hair, I probably got them right. So it means a lot about management that attracts those kind of people and that encourages them and makes them want to stay. And so thank you to you guys. You guys are all doing a really great job. Thank you.
Good job. Any other, Director Armitage?
I'll just briefly say that, when you think about how much time we all spend at work, we actually spend more time with our coworkers and in our workplaces than we do with our own families. And so it's nice to see that there is kind of a culture of, family away from family here at the agency. And it was really pleasant and joyful to see that. So thank you.
Well, I have to say, Mr. Stone added a new dimension to the ugly sweater with the hooded, masked, ugly sweater outfit. And quite impressive. And it's hard to look at Courtney now without seeing that ugly sweater and his outfit, and Rochelle and her lighted antler group on that table. And it was all so much fun. And I appreciate it. And actually, I was a little disappointed we weren't going to do an evening, spouses included, but now after this, my comment was, it's kind of hard to take this away from the employees now, the way we did it this time. So good job, Kathy. Excellent. And we had a lot of fun. So with that concludes the general manager's report and our responses, unless there's others that wish to comment. We can move on to item 10, committee report, committee meeting recap reports for informational purposes only. There are 2 committee reports in your folder. Are there any comments or questions from the board? Seeing none, were there any public comments, April?
There is not.
Move on to item 11, President's Report. I'll try to be quick. Update on the following items outside the agency events. Urban Water Institute Spring Water Conference will be held in Palm Springs on February 22 to 24, 2023. And the SCV Chamber of Commerce Centennial Celebration Awards and Installation, that's a mouthful, being held at the Canyon Country Community Center at 6 p.m. on February 23, right smack dab in the middle of the Urban Water Institute Conference. Upcoming board meetings starting at 6 p.m. The regular board meeting on January 3, January 17, and a special board meeting on January 30 for the sexual harassment prevention training for the board of directors. Upcoming committee meetings for the month of January held at Summit Circle in the ESS boardroom at 5:30 will be the January 3 Engineering and Operations, the January 11 Water Resources and Watershed, and the January 19th Public Outreach and Legislation. Upcoming committee meetings for the month of January held at Rio Vista right here. January 23 rescheduled Finance and Administration Committee meeting. And in other announcements, the Urban Water Institute Honor of Lifetime Services and Water Leadership Recognition Certificate for Jerry Gladback that was presented at the Urban Water Institute Annual Conference in August of 2022 in San Diego is now displayed in the hallway right outside the boardroom. If you haven't looked at it yet, I suggest you take a moment to read it. It's excellent, and we will probably be featuring that at our January 17th meeting where we honor Jerry with his water drop and resolution. Starting with the first meeting in February 2023, we will be going back to serving dinner prior to the board meeting. Dinner will be served in the discovery room and will be served no later than 5:30 prior to the start of the board meeting. Note, the public will have access to the discovery room during the board dinners. There will be an Upper Santa Clara Valley Joint Powers Authority meeting and Devil's Den Water District meeting following tonight's board meeting. So please, those who are on those 2 boards, please stick around. And I just shortcutted that. For those who sit on the board, please do not leave or after tonight's board meeting. Upper Santa Clara Valley Joint Powers Authority consists of directors Cooper, Ford, Ozahuski, and myself. Those on the Devil's Den Water District Board consist of directors Colley, Cooper, Ford, DePremio, welcome Bob, and Kelly. At each of your spots is our annual delivery of the Devil's Den Water District honey. Thank you to Tim Wheeler for going to get it and bring it to us each year. That concludes the president's report for tonight. Do we have any public comment, April?
We do not.
Do we have any questions or discussion from the board? Good luck with that, man. All right, we go to AB 1234 reports. There were 4 AB 1234 reports included in your packet and one that was posted to the website and sent out via email. Does anyone have an additional AB 1234 report tonight? Director Armitage.
Thank you. The Executive Committee of the Special District Association of North LA County met virtually on December 14th to get updates related to the California Special District Association and to continue planning for the first general membership meeting of the new year, which will take place on January 25th, 11:30 to 1:30. It will be here at SCV Water. We are hosting, and Ms. Martin has been working hard to get all the logistics ready for that. So thank you, Ms. Martin. And invitations, I believe, will be going out really soon. So we hope you can join us for that event. Thank you.
Director Peterson.
Yes, I had a one-on-one meeting with our general manager yesterday, and it was really my chance to learn more things about what's been going on, including how these meetings are supposed to go with the general manager. I was absence of thinking that I was going to meet him here, but actually it was supposed to be online, which I could not make it work for me. It's a learning experience, and we'll continue to learn more about that. But I had a wonderful meeting with him on the phone, and that always talking about a little bit of history, bringing me back up to speed on what's been going on the last 5 years since I left the Valencia Water Company. And I appreciate that meeting with him and look forward to him next year also.
Thank you, Director Peterson. Any other AB 1234s? Seeing none, I usually submit mine in writing to avoid this time, but I will have to make a report. Let's see, well, on the December 13th, I attended the VIA luncheon at COC University Center. Senator Wilk attended to swear in the 2023 VIA Board of Directors that include our very own Kathy Martin. It was a good event, and I think Senator Wilk did a nice job to entertain as well as swear in the directors. Also on December 13th, I had the honor of attending the City Council organizational meeting at City Hall to present Mayor West with a certificate of recognition for her 2022 term as mayor. The certificate read as follows: in honor of her commitment, dedication, and service to the city of Santa Clarita, the Santa Clarita Valley, and the Santa Clarita Valley Water Agency, December 2021 to December 2022. I made a few additional comments about her work in supporting the creation of SCV Water, and that it is paying dividends now as we go through a historic drought and relying on some of our dry year water supplies. Also on December 15th, I attended the December meeting of the Delta Conveyance Design and Construction Authority, DCA, Board of Directors. Items covered, the easy ones, the approval of previous minutes. We also approved for the last time the extension of remote meetings per AB 361. And let's see, we had received and filed a clean audit report. And one action item was approval of the joint exercise of power agreement amendment 7. Amendment 7 to the exercise of power agreement was an administrative item, changing the repayment date of the DWR initial contribution from January 10, 2023 to January 10, 2025. And that concludes my report. Seeing no further, AB 12, do we have any public comment on that, April?
We do not.
Very good. Seeing no further AB 1234 reports, we do have a closed session item tonight. A closed session item to discuss conference with real property negotiators as listed in your agenda, item 13.1. And with that, I would like to adjourn to closed session. We'll take a 5-minute break while we get the room cleared for our closed session discussion. We will be back in session. It is now 8:26. So let's try to get back settled by 8:30 if we can do it, or as soon as we can. Thank you all. We are back in open session and we can move to item 14, closed session announcements. Mr. Bud.
President Martin, members of the board met in closed session under section 54956.8 to discuss the property listed in the agenda. No reportable action was taken.
Thank you, Mr. Bud. We can move to item 15, director requests for approval of future agenda items. And before I ask for any requests for future agenda items, I'd like to review once again what a future agenda item is. Future agenda items are something that the whole board should receive information on and would benefit both the public and the board at a regular meeting. An informational item, on the other hand, are something that you would like to have further information on as a director that can be requested and received from staff, and if applicable, sent to the full board. Are there any requests for future agenda items? Seeing none, before we move to adjournment, I want to remind members of the Upper Santa Clara Valley JPA and Devil's Den that members of those boards to please do not leave. Once again, the members of the Upper Santa Clara Valley JPA are Directors Cooper, Ford, Ozahuski, and Martin, and the Devil's Den District Board consists of Directors Colley, Cooper, Ford, DePremio, and Kelly. And with that, Director Bronstein, what would you like to say?
There's no director reports this time, but I'm a person that believes in visibility. So it is the third night of Hanukkah, and I wanted to wish everyone that celebrates a happy Hanukkah, because by next time it won't be Hanukkah anymore. So yes, happy Hanukkah to everyone.
Thank you, Director Bronstein. And with that, we are adjourned, but I will say once again, thank you, Director Ford, for your service. Thank you, Director Planbeck, for your service. We will see you all in 2023, unless you're on the Upper Santa Clara Valley JP.